Learning through this experience of putting the company under management, a lot of times I look back and I was like, wow, I was a roadblock to a lot of things.
Yeah, we were.
And when we first heard of what we could have done in terms of putting the company under management, we were blown away. And it was one of our mentors who said, you need to put the company under management and you need to actually step away because that's not what you're there to do.
I was so fixated on the fact that no one could do it better than me. Even though I have a team, I'm still the best at doing it, everything. And then we get to a point where the last couple of years when I've really, both you and I have really taken a step back, it just amazes me that the team smashes through it. It's such an incredible experience. And the realization, I think, in all of this is that sometimes you just got to let it go and let someone else come in and do the task and bring their own flavor. Hey everyone, it's Julia.
And Victor, and we're multi-award winning entrepreneurs. We own a portfolio of businesses and we also have 2 kids under 3.
As husband and wife, we have decided to start this podcast as a way of giving back and sharing our journey with some raw conversations, knowledge and learnings that we have been having together over the past 13 years of building our businesses and our life together. Hey everyone, welcome back to episode 2 with Elevate with Vic and Juls. We thought for this particular episode, we should go back and focus on our very, very first baby, and that is our events management company, JT Production Management, and actually share with you guys, I guess, the business of events, all the behind the scenes, the learnings, the fuck up stories that we'll share, as well as the wins and why we've been doing and being involved in the events industry for the past 13 years. So,
with that being said, let's go straight to the very top or the beginning. So when did you realize that it's not just a gig? And we've spoken about, starting the business in the last episode. But when did you actually realize that it wasn't just a gig, it's a business?
That's a good question. I think for me, I was probably in denial for a very long time because, and I always say this to people, like I fell into the idea of starting JT Production Management. It wasn't like as a young kid, I was like, I'm going to set off to start an events business. It was always that I fell in love with events and it became an organic pathway. So I think for me at the age of 20, it was very much like dip your toes in the water, figure it out, see if this is going to work, if this gig economy or solopreneur is going to be the right pathway, and figure it out as I go. So probably the turning point was maybe year 2, I would say, when it became more and more of a steady income. Because the year 1 was very much like literally gig economy. You would remember, Vic.
I do remember.
Just like one theatre show here, profit share theatre show there, and then like a corporate gig, and then lots of networking to try to build up the portfolio. But year 2, I'm so used to saying it as we now, but year 2 was really just it's just me, converting and winning a big contract with one of our major clients now, which is an educational university, the University of Melbourne, contracted us on to produce and really support a major exhibition for one of their division. And we hustled extremely hard and I worked with them. And then it ended up being that they loved our service so much that they were really open to bringing us back in to do more. And I think even at that point in year 2, when it was like, okay, our contracts are getting bigger, the brands are also getting bigger, the deal size, if you like, are getting bigger, I was still in this mindset of, is this real? Like maybe it's just one-off gig, maybe it's a second gig, but we're still not quite sure that this is going to be a business. But I think it became pretty obvious that when we got called back to plan more and people were actually naturally just sharing the contact details around and I was getting all these inquiries, that the volume of it started solidifying this idea that, hey, maybe I can't do it all on my own, or myself and, you know, a contractor, that I might need to start building a team around me.
Fantastic. And I do remember the early days where you were the solo entrepreneur and doing the gig economy. I remember you were like, oh, the next 3 months, you know, this is what it looks like. But then after that, it's like, where do I go from there? And you were hustling really hard to find your next job and then the next job. And then from 3 months, it grew to 6 months worth of pipeline. And then it grew from, you know, scoring bigger gigs and managing larger events, and then basically you know, getting contracts for year-long projects, which is really exciting.
I used to not want to go on any holidays because I would always be like to you, well, I don't know what gigs we're going to get in the next few months, so you've got to clear the calendar and see what lands in, and then like maybe we might have a break if we're lucky. But yeah, definitely it started very small and it slowly grew.
Yeah. I mean, with the the next question would be, how did you price yourself early on in the early days, and when did you change that?
Yeah, cheap. I think definitely early days. It was a weird idea to think about pricing, and I think it's still such a hot topic today in you know, the creators industry. You know, as an entrepreneur or a business owner, it's like, how do you determine the value of your time is a really fascinating factor. I think I came into the game of business so naive, like with the mindset of, I think I was coming into it with the mindset of an employee, like expecting that, okay, I've got 40 hours in my week. How much do I want to earn? If I divide that back down, like this is how many, you know, and it really shouldn't be like that. It really is. You know, now I know it's about the value, right? Like, as you know as well, you coach other people, and it's all about like, what value do you bring to the table and how much are you going to change someone's life, and pricing yourself accordingly. But at the age of 20, it was really much like, oh, what should my hourly rate be? You know, like I used to work in a retail shop and I was getting paid this much. And so maybe I should price myself here. And I also think there's this like layer of, because we were coming in from a creative lens of event managers, that naturally creatives should be cheap, or that people don't value the creative as much as a normal, you know, finance contractor or whatever. So I've always found it really challenging to price myself in the early days. And I would actually ask a lot of mentors. I would go to my, I remember Annie Reid is a fantastic stage manager in the Australian industry for theatre management. She was our lecturer at the time, and, you know, this was when I was 19, 20, and I used to actually sit in her office and go, okay, I've got this particular corporate job. How do you think I should price myself? And she was always very willing and open to share what she's pricing herself as a seasoned stage manager, and make suggestion around that. And then you get this like imposter syndrome, right? So you finally figured, okay, I should price myself here. And then I would go and pitch that price in a proposal to a client. And I remember a lot of them are like, well, you're really young. Like, you know, you sure you want to be charging, you know, X amount of dollars per hour? And so you always come up with this like battle against other people of what they really value you at the same time. So I think I've learned it the hard way in trying to find the price, but definitely in my early days, it was cheap because it was in this mindset of like this employee mindset and this mindset of like creatives are less valued. But over time, I've learned that I can show value to a client or to someone who's interested in my service. And the flip side of that is that, you know, I think we price ourselves accordingly now, and really have focused on scaling that. Yeah.
I mean, my take on pricing, and it comes over a period of time as well, because obviously in our early days, there's a lot of things that we haven't nutted out yet at the point of time, like systems, processes, employees, all the way through to the quality of work, the number of testimonies that we have, the number of jobs completed, the number of years of experience. And when we started growing a lot of this and started to grow the business as a company, a lot of this started coming through. So, asking for customers for testimonies if we've done a really good job and they're willing to write a testimony for us. These all come to proof of the service. From what I've been really proud of in JT Production Management is that we're 100% guaranteed delivery. So we've never actually not delivered a project ever in our history of running this business and any businesses that we run. So it was a really clear indication that if we're on board, the event will happen, which is a really big guarantee for our clients. And there's a lot of social proof of that happening. And then it comes down to all the other values that I believe in terms of personal values, then going into business values. And what's so exciting about that is we're creating a lot of things around, the impact space, the educational space, the sustainability space, and really working towards clients in terms of doing good for our community. And that also can come at a price as well, because obviously we're doing a lot of things in that sector, donating a lot of money out and helping charities and other not-for-profits as well. And that all contributes to the way we have to price ourselves and getting to the point that we are at now. So,
yeah. I think that's definitely the later phase though. I think in early days it was 100% price at whatever the client can pay, and then it was like figure it out afterwards. But as you say, Vic, it's over time, it's really discovering our value and what we can bring to the table and where we want to, I think, market position ourselves as well. I think is so important, because I think pricing is such a fascinating we can have a whole episode on pricing alone, right, for businesses. But I think, obviously the economy changing makes a point of difference. What you can guarantee, like you said, for us at GT, we guarantee delivery in person to, hybrid to virtual. We can do it in a heartbeat so easily and seamlessly for a client. And then, of course, we're really positioning ourselves in the last couple of years in particular as a premium, high quality, high end service as well. But definitely in the early days when it was just me trying to figure it out and build a brand and portfolio, it was pretty much like whatever clients want and need, I was willing to offer to build up that, I guess, authority and portfolio to be able to get those positive testimonies. And like you asked before, that pivotal point is when I was able to score those bigger jobs and know that it's now we're playing a bigger game. It's no longer just like little, small one-day events. It was like major 6 months projects, and there was this sense of trust that clients would put on us and the sense of need to really convert this into a business and really scale it.
Yep. And I guess when we're talking about events here, what do you think separates a successful event in our perspective from to a mediocre one?
Oh, yes. I guess it's like the bigger question is like, what's the JT touch, right? What separates us from a mediocre event is one that people don't forget, I think, is a big one. And that's something that I've always lived by since, as you know, the very first event I ran when I was 14 all the way through to now. It's really important that whatever we're designing, it's about the experience. And, I always say this to the team, to our clients, to our suppliers, everything. The journey of an event doesn't start when people arrive at your event. The journey of the event starts from the minute they see that piece of comms or marketing, the way that we communicate what the project is, the way that we send our invitations out, the way that we communicate to people, all the way through to obviously the event itself, and then what do we leave people feeling and thinking about afterwards as well. Because often people tend to forget, they get there, they throw a big gala, big conference, big festival, and then it's like, okay, see you later. And then the drive home, you're sitting in a car, you're discussing something else. And for us at JT, it's very, very much about the full holistic experience. It's from the minute that you receive that comms all the way through to, the week after, the months after, you're still thinking about the event and how do we keep you engaged in the whole way through. And for us, the experience level isn't, again, just about what you see, what you get invited to. We really think on all levels, right? It's tactile. It's what people see through their eyes, what they taste through their taste buds if they're serving food and drinks, and even what they smell, right? Like scent is such a big thing, and that's something that we've been really driving home for a lot of our events the last couple of years is like, you know, really ensuring that the experience is holistic and that we're playing on people's senses as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Great.
What else would you add to that JT touch?
For me, I think, you know, you've mentioned a few things like the well-planned, the well-executed, the attendee focus is really important. I would say there's probably three levels of parties involved in planning for an event. The first one would be the client themselves. So when we're planning for an event, the first question that we ask any client is really, what is the purpose of the event?
What's the objective?
What is the objective? What do they want to achieve? What are the KPIs? What are the goals? What do they want to leave their attendees thinking about? And it's really important to us because that is the driver of everything that we're planning, and understanding that purpose really clearly would give us a really good direction on what is the purpose of what we're creating, and where do we actually spend the resources to create this as well is really important. So the client is the first, and obviously the customer service and treating them with care and giving them the information and providing them with the support that they require to actually plan the event. We normally call ourselves the extension to our client's team because we end up collaborating so seamlessly into their teams because we understand their purpose. We love their organization and we wanted to do something for them that we become an extension to their team, which is really good.
And we also want to make sure at every point in time that the client is the hero in this story or this experience that we're creating, that we're meeting their objective. And JT as a team is simply their guide. We're just here. We're behind the scenes. We're on the sideline. We're not here to take the limelights. We're not in front of a camera, even though you and I are right now. We're usually behind the scenes, really helping them fulfill their ultimate purpose and whatever it is that they are dreaming up or visualizing. We're really there to make that happen for them.
Yep, absolutely. And then the second, people in what we're trying to achieve would be the attendees. So the attendees themselves, who are really the client's client here, the attendees will come. What do they feel? What do they see? As you've mentioned already, the communication levels, so really being specific when we're welcoming them, the way that they need to travel, whether they need to come from overseas or they're already residing here, how do you get to the venue, is there accessibility, is there catering, is there dietary requirements and all those aspects that we need to take care of to make sure that every single attendee is felt and heard and also cared for as well.
And I think a lot of the times as well, people tend to forget that fact. And it surprises me time and time again every time we sit down with a client and we go through what we call at our company a impact checklist. And we literally say, okay, have you considered a quiet space for people who need quiet time at a conference, for example? Have you considered in your form to include a question around, do you have accessibility requirements? And people are like, do you mean wheelchairs? And I'm like, no, accessibility means a lot more things than just wheelchair. Or like, have you considered obviously dietary is becoming more and more popular now, but like a range of dietaries, you know, what happens if people go to a cocktail function and they actually don't want to drink alcohol? Do we have mocktails as an example? Have we considered acknowledgement or a welcome to country? Like all of those little details makes the event so much more impactful from the lens of the community and the client, and yet a lot of the times people tend to forget about it. So we have formulated a impact checklist that the team swears by, and they always go back to it time and time again and make sure that we tick all of those aspects off.
100%. So even something that's really big for us is the cultural diversity, and also there is a community where there's BT, which is really important as well when we're talking about making sure that venues are accessible, and when we're looking at prayer rooms or we're looking at toilets and providing those type of equality within our attendees is really important for us. So,
or even sustainability, right? Like the amount of times where we've partnered with organizations to come pick up the food that's been left behind after a conference or a gala. All of those aspects are incredibly important. And, you know, the attendees might not necessarily know that the leftover food is getting taken away and given to people in need. But again, to your point, like all of our events, and it comes back to the holistic experience, you know, we put on the lens of the client and the stakeholders and the attendees. Everyone gets covered for when we come into planning a project like this.
Yep, 100%. And I guess the third audience would be actually us in terms of the event producers, the event managers, coordinators, as well as the suppliers on site. So whether it's catering, whether it's furnishing, whether it's AV, whether it's tech, all of the videographers and photographers, is to actually make sure that we plan out all their schedules to the T, so that timings are provided, run sheets are provided, operations plans are provided, so everyone knows exactly where they need to be and when they need to arrive, where the venue is, what equipment that they need to bring along with them, what they're providing, when are they on for their jobs and where they should be at during the event. So being really detailed in that.
Yeah, and that they are cared for. So the amount of times where we're like, make sure we feed the AV guys, make sure the photographers get fed, you know, and that they know when they can clock off and have a break. You know, a shooter can't shoot for the whole night. They need to have a break as well. So all of those considerations are so important. And again, you know, often you do tend to forget because you're always like go, and the priority is always the client and the attendees. But the suppliers and the people around you, and in fact the team, is what makes it work. So it's so important that you are looking after the people around you as well.
100%. So I guess moving on to the next question would be, now that we're further along down the track and we're building a team at the moment, and what were some of the things when we were building a team that went wrong early in our team building stages?
Yeah, the fuck up stories. Team building, interesting. I think there's been a huge evolution of us as business owners and as leaders of our company or companies now. I think in our early days, I think you and I were both really naive in terms of understanding the importance of culture. I think we've always been very caring of our team members, but I think now that reflecting back on it, we've learnt heaps and we've really evolved along the way. So, yeah, I guess in terms of us building a team now, I mean, we've got a fantastic team. Like, I love the people that works for us, and I'm so proud of each and every one of them. They've grown and they're really, really thriving in their roles too, and that gives us so much joy. So for us now, I think it's about creating opportunities where the team members feel like they're a part of this amazing work culture. They love turning up to work. They love the purpose and the projects that they work on. They feel rewarded and that they can see an opportunity for growth, because I think that's really important. I think COVID during that time has also really taught us a big lesson as we've pivoted coming from, you know, what life was like in a working environment, always in the office, to then going completely online for what feels like 2 years. To then coming back out and doing this hybrid work model and rebuilding that sense of team camaraderie and culture. It's really, really changed and shaped the way we think. And I think for us, it's and then we've taken a lot of leadership lessons as well. I think for a point where we're like, actually, we need to learn how to be better leaders ourselves, and really stripping away that ego and, you know, going to get taught by experts in those fields about how to be better leaders. But I think, you know, your question of early days, what are what went wrong early? We've got so many stories. Oh my God, where do we begin? I think our recruitment stories is a good one. In our early days, we now have an amazing recruiter or recruiting agency as well as a HR team that does all of this for us. Thank goodness. But in our early days, I mean, if you remember, Vic, you and I, we used to write the Seek ads. We would publish it ourselves and then we will sit and refresh the website like religiously to see.
Read through 100 resumes, yes.
Flip through, think twice, do a bit of stalking on social media. We can probably do a whole episode around like recruitment tips.
Yep.
But I think for us, I remember when we had a big staff change or a team member who was integral to the company, they decided to go overseas for their lives, and we still remain really good friends with them now. We had to replace her, and we went out to seek another like senior event manager to join the company. Our company was very small at this point, and we were somewhat in this kind of desperado phase, and I think a lot of other small business owners would know exactly what I'm talking about, where you read an application and you're so excited and at the same time so desperate to get someone on board that you're like, whatever, this sounds amazing. And then I remember we interviewed with this particular person, and then you and I were so excited. They said all the right things. They felt like the missing piece in our puzzle that we didn't know existed. We got so hyped up, like they were such a good speaker that we were like, oh my God, you're hired. It was over our budget too. Yeah. We had a budget and we were like, fuck the budget, like we'll find the money somewhere. Let's hire this person. And I think, how long did it take for us to realize?
It was
2, 3?
Yeah, 3 weeks.
3 weeks?
Before we seen cracks.
Yeah, seeing cracks, big cracks.
Big cracks.
That they were clearly, unfortunately, not the right fit for the company in terms of like the projects that they're familiar with, culture fit. It was really wrong. And it was so wrong that I think what we were really blinded by was we didn't even see the fact that our team was feeling really uncomfortable by this person because the culture fit was not right. I think you and I were so hopeful that this person would be the right fit that we kind of like had our blinkers on a little bit. Mind you, this was like 8 years ago. That we just kind of ignored everything and were like, let's go. And it took one particular client, long-term client, in a car park after the site visit. They came up to me and honestly said, oh, Julia, that's an interesting hire. That I called you straight away in the car and I was like, oh, this so-and-so said this. And I think you were like, oh, fuck, that doesn't sound good.
Yeah. It was like, if everything was right, you wouldn't question that, right? So
exactly.
Then we're like, okay, we better keep an eye on what it is and keep tabs, and that's where we started seeing things.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, long story short, that person wasn't the right fit, so we had to pull the pin earlier. But I think the fuck up in the part of this story is there was lots of lessons that we had to learn. And it was definitely around the rushing of recruitment. Yeah.
And what we found was really important to do during that time is to actually do reference checks, because that was something that we found, oh my God, we found an amazing person. We didn't bother to, we skipped a step of, checking references, and then very quickly realized that that was a key step that should have been done. And thank God it was, very early on in our hire, which then we found, okay, every single hire after that needs to do
Yeah, really just now. We don't care rain, hail or shine. We have a full HR team, recruitment agency that does all our recruiting for us now. But no matter what, we're like, you have to do a reference check. There is no way around that. We're like, we refuse to even like consider the contract unless a reference check, and it has to be 2, is done. And even then, since then we've had plenty of interesting hires as well. But I know that particular story was earlier on in our journey, and it was definitely a good one to learn from for sure.
Yep.
So I mean, we've kind of gone through, you know, like our early days of JT where pricing was low. It was priced per hour. It was an employee mindset. And then, you know, we got a bit bigger, obviously won a couple of major contracts with universities and so forth, and it became more of a business. And then, of course, we recruited people, which we've had to learn how to be leaders around and continue to evolve that. But now we're at this stage where JT, which we're very proud of, is fully under management, which I think you and I didn't even think that was possible at one point.
Yep.
But we worked really hard to get it under management. So we've got a fantastic general manager in place. We also have a CEO and, you know, a leadership team that really runs that company for us. I think amongst all of that, one of the key things that we've learned in the, I guess, business operations and particularly for events and creating experiences is how important it is to have the abilities to, I guess, SOP everything and put systems and processes in place.
Yep. I mean, those are, you know, SOPs is probably one of the most important things to, and this is, SOP stands for Standard Operation Procedures, which means it's a manual for everything that you do. It's so important and integral to any business. The reason why is because if someone's not in the business for that particular role or particular job or particular ways of doing things, it's all written down somewhere, and it should be a step-by-step guide on how to do things correctly in the business and expectations of that particular role and movement in that role.
Yeah.
So it's definitely integral, and this. How did the SOP started forming in our early days is we started making things like, okay, if we ever make a mistake, that goes down and it's written and it goes down through the steps that we need to take so that we don't make a mistake twice.
And we set rules around it.
And then it got to a point where everything then is all of the steps that we do in terms of the planning process of the event is all SOP'd. We then go down to specific roles that needs to be SOP'd. Even our roles need to be SOP'd. The reason why is because we can then let someone else lead and do what we do. So it's really important to have it, you know, everything written down.
And I think the other aspect to that, and I know, you know, in fact, some of the recent conversations we've had, people are always so curious as to like for us as founders and directors of our own company for so long, and then making that decision of, you know, having a new leadership team in place. Like it was an external hire, particularly for our CEO role. Our GM has been working with us for a long time and grew into that position. Was, you know, people keep asking us, was that like a tricky decision, especially, you know, coming from the fact that I love event planning. And then at the age of 14, and it became an evolution of like starting the business, growing, scaling it, you know, really scaling it through COVID, and then getting to a point now where it's like, hey, I've fully stepped away from it. And I think the realization in this is that holistically, we're still staying true to our vision and mission of what we do and why we're doing it. And I think the realization in all of this, while appointing, you know, the leadership team, and actually for me, a big thing was like letting go of having to be at every single event and overlooking at every single minute task, is the realization that once you have the right procedure in place and you've got the right team around you, 9 times out of 10, they do an even better job than us. Like it amazes me to think, you know, to go back, you know, we have this amazing engineering exhibition that we used to organize, and we've done it for 10 years now. And it used to take absolutely every hour of my day, every hour of my time, including the whole team. You would remember this, like every moment of our life. We used to stay up every night in the lead up, just organizing it. And then
like 2 a.m. before we left the office on the day before.
Yeah, making
and then
name
coming back
tags.
at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
like 3 hours
editing
sleep.
things, you know, briefing people. And I was so fixated on the fact that no one could do it better than me. Even though I have a team, I'm still the best at doing at everything. And then we get to a point where the last couple of years when I've really, both you and I have really taken a step back and handing this particular project over, it just amazes me that, the team smashes through it. They do it in like a quarter of the time that we used to do it in. They bring, brand new innovation ideas to it. The client absolutely loves them. The event runs absolutely smoothly. And it's such an incredible experience. And the realization, I think, in all of this is that you, as founders in particular, and you know who I'm talking to if you're listening to this, is sometimes you just got to let it go and let someone else come in and do the task and bring their own flavour to the table. Obviously, you would SOP the process of what you've been doing to make sure that there's frameworks and boundaries to work within. But it's important to actually let things go and see what others can bring to the table because obviously from an event management level, we've seen a huge difference from the event teams on the project teams. And then, of course, now even the next level up, which is the leadership level, stepping away from our events company, we can see the leadership team is just smashing it in terms of targets, processes, procedures, BDing, culture. It's been an incredible journey, that's for sure.
Yeah. And, learning through this experience of, putting the company under management, a lot of times I look back and I was like, wow, I was a roadblock to a lot of things.
Yeah, we were.
And when we first heard of what we could have done in terms of putting the company under management, we were blown away. And it was one of our mentors who said, you need to put the company under management and you need to actually step away because that's not what you're there for to do.
Yeah.
And I realized that for myself in particular is that I was really embedded in strategies. I was doing a lot of financials. I was doing a lot of other things around being on top of the business and seeing the forecasts of the business rather than being in the business and doing all the planning. I just realized that I was actually a roadblock to the team getting things done. At time and making decisions, and it's hard to get to the founders at times because there's so many things that a founder needs to do at the same time. So the attention is diverted into so many different places, and I just realized, wow, I was actually the roadblock in a lot of the decisions that need to be made because how many emails do I get and what am I responding to and what's priority as well. So that when that changed, it was a game changer for us, and it really not only did it buy us back time to focus on the things that we're really good at. So now that a lot of my time is spent in the strategic side of things to make sure that we've got all the strategies in place. How do we grow? How do we forecast in the future? And we're
across the group of
businesses. So, running now multiple businesses is that we're forecasting things for a long term across so many different businesses, and then meeting with all of the leaders in each business and providing them with strategies, updates, making sure that they're reporting back to me. I am then giving instructions back down to them, and then it trickles down to everyone else that's in the business. So it's so important.
And I think you and I, over time, have realised that it also brings us a lot more joy in what we do now that we're in the right role as well. Yep. I think when we're just being stuck in our ways, being the directors of our own singular company while having ambition to build and scale other things, we were just, like you said, the roadblocks to a lot of decision making, but we were also really in this rut of not really loving what we were doing either. And then once we gave permission that, hey, this is the scale and the process that we're going to go through, and seeing the team thrive once we stepped away has been incredible. That's for sure.
I mean, a question from me would be, how did you maintain control without micromanaging?
How do we maintain control? I think it's hard, right? Like, as you know, I am a control freak on many levels.
I think all business owners would have some type of control.
Yeah.
Or control freak.
Aspect of it, for sure. I think definitely best way of maintaining control is having a really clear set of expectations. I think for us, when we decided to step away and have this new leadership team in place, one of the things that we wrote down, and it was advised by our mentor, is setting a very clear expectation or plan or way of communicating to us the information that we need in order to keep our level of anxiety at bay, or sanity at bay. So things like, clear financial projections, business deals that are coming in, key challenges or wins. Like we obviously have a particular process that our CEO has to report back to us on that keeps ourselves calm in terms of having the right oversight and the right level of oversight in the business whilst not needing to have me ask questions every 2 seconds of like, where's this at? What's happening here? What's happening there? And being really clear, with our expectation has been great, and also really clear in the style of communication. I think it's so important. I mean, you and I have worked together a lot on this as well, like how best to communicate with one another. But even communicating to our leadership team has been a big thing. Like, what's our preference? Text or WhatsApp or email, being very clear on that has been super helpful. And it also gives them the capability to really, take the lead and run with it as well.
Yep.
I guess
I was gonna add a little bit to that as well in terms of where I found interesting was, and this is probably through the earlier days through to now, is when every single employee that came through our business and the ones that have left as well, we found that we learnt a lot from each one of those people that have left along the way. And it helped us develop more and more systems because we're like, okay, let's understand the reason as to why. For example, I remember that we used to use a lot of gut instincts in terms of, when do you give promotion to people? How do people are doing a good job in our business? And it wasn't measured in any way or form as data. It was just measured by gut feel and what conversations we're having with that person and everything. And then we started developing things such as a capability framework so that there's a framework around how they are growing through our business and when is the right time to actually change into the next role and hitting certain KPIs and really measuring all these aspects. So it was really important to us. In terms of micromanaging as well, like I remember there was days where it's like, what time did this person come in and what time did that person come in?
Yeah.
There was then it came down to the level of trust and making sure that the team is working together as keeping each other accountable for their work. These goes down to our project management systems and making sure that things are updated properly in a flow and a workflow. Timesheets to make sure that things are recorded, and then making sure that people actually understand why us as a company that they're working for as well. So we found that having a very clear vision and mission statement was so integral to the people that's working for us, because are they there and doing their job or doing the things that they need to do without us being there hovering across. It was really important to have those clear statements to help people realize what they're there for.
Yeah, definitely. I think clarity and transparency is definitely a big thing that we learnt in any business. Like you say, like being really, really clear on that. And I think being vulnerable with the team as well at the times when it's hard and at the times when we're winning is really important, because I think we learned over time that, we used to keep it to ourselves, and it's so important to actually share that. But to round it off, one quick thing, if you've got another fuck up story that you want to share about our events world, feel free to share it.
Ooh,
there's so many,
this
right?
One's a hard one.
I know, we said we'll reveal some stories on this episode.
I mean, there was one that was revealed early on. Now I've got to think of one. You want to go first?
Okay. So many. I think one of the funny ones that I always think back is And this goes back to your point around the different lens we always put on when we're organising our events. It's not just about our clients or attendees, but we also take care of our suppliers. One of the major fuck-ups that occurred probably around 2 years ago at a major national conference is we were on site and we received hundreds of program booklets, and on the front cover, the logo was blurry. And I think to people who don't care about brand, they'll be like, whatever. But for this particular organization and for what we were building and representing, a logo that is blurry on a program booklet was a no-go. And I just remember the particular team member who opened the boxes and was like, oh my God. And we had to pack them into show bags too, which was another stress level. But when we saw those logos that were blurry, we were like, this cannot be delivered and handed out to, you know, the hundreds of delegates we're about to have. So on the note of looking after our suppliers and building relationships with them, we sent this team member down. It was in Sydney. They had to go to their production print site and negotiated a reprint of, I think, would have been like 800 copies of, you know, 20-page program booklets overnight. And we demanded that they got it delivered to us the next morning. And through the negotiation, we ended up getting it reprinted, delivered on time, and done for free. And it was wild. And I think, you know, it's all those kind of little things that happens at events that you just don't expect and you don't know will happen. That makes, I guess, the part of event planning fun. But it's insane that in building good relationships with suppliers and people around you and having a great team is so critical. It's because when shit hits the fans, last minute things changes, speakers that's meant to arrive that don't arrive, or, you know, the clients decided to change the program last minute, or program booklets gets delivered with a blurry logo that can't go out, that you can really lean on the right people to make those changes is all that really matters at the end of the day. So yeah, you know, now we tell our team you always have to come into a project with an 80-20 rule. I expect that, you know, you plan everything and you're going to come to site and expect that there's going to be at least 20% of things that's unexpected and things will come your way, and just be prepared for it. And that's, you know, what's the word that you always say? You're like, we're problem solvers, aren't we?
Yeah. I mean, in every single business, if you're not the problem solver, then you're not really needed, I guess, in terms of service business. So, you know, what problem are we solving for our clients is really important to keep in mind, because that's why we're there for, to help a client solve their problems.
Cool. So I think that's the end of Ep2. And I can't wait to share more on our business life and our journey, and then be able to get everyone onto our technology as well.
Cool. See you guys.